Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. Now, one of the bass players that I'm constantly asked about featuring in the Talking Bass lessons is Geddy Lee from Rush. And I've not covered any of his stuff yet, but I am a big Geddy Lee fan. And, you know, when I was getting started out on bass, I used to learn loads and loads of Rush lines. So today, I'm going to show you a line that used to cause me loads and loads of problems. And it's the bass solo from Villa Strangiato from the Hemispheres album. So the bass solo sounds like this. So I'll begin by just showing you the notes in there, and then I'll give you some tips on how to get through it. So we begin with the open A string, okay? So we have open A, then E flat, D, E flat. 6th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret on the A string. Now, I have seen it written in some places, and I've seen people on YouTube do little lessons where they're showing it as E flat, D, C, or E flat, D, C there. Now, when I saw this, because I originally learned it, you know, as the E flat, D, E flat, you know, back in the early 90s. So I'd not really gone through it since. So I thought, okay, I'll have a listen to the original and see whether it is the C, because, you know, in some ways, I suppose it could be easier like that. So I had a listen, and if any of you have a listen through that, you'll know, you know, that beginning of the solo, there's a lot of, you know, clanking and mush going on, so it's quite hard to hear exactly what's being played. So I slowed it right down. I slowed it down half speed. You could do this yourselves in YouTube just by going to the settings and then slowing down to 50%. And when you play it that slow, you can actually hear it as A, E flat, D, E flat. Okay, so have a listen to it yourselves. You know, if you really want to play it down to the C, you know, if you think that you can hear it as the C, then fair enough. But I can hear it as E flat, D, E flat. But, you know, check it out yourselves, see what you think. So now we have A, E flat, D, E flat. Then we move up onto the D string and we have A, G, E. Okay, so this is 7th fret, 5th fret D string, and then 7th fret on the A string. Okay, and this is a really, really common pattern in a lot of bass fills. Geddy Lee does this a lot. You'll also hear it in a lot of John Entwistle's bass lines. So, okay, so there we have A, G, E. Then we take that exact pattern and we just move it up a string. So we go up onto the G string and we play D, C, A. So we have 7th fret, 5th fret G string, 7th fret D string. So all together we now have. Okay, then we move up to the E flat, 8th fret of the G string, then come down to the C, 5th fret of the G string, and then down to A, the 7th fret of the D string. So this is a similar pattern, but we're just using that E flat there. Okay, so all together now. Okay. Next, we repeat the previous line of D, C, A. So 7th fret, 5th fret G string, and 7th fret D string. So all together. Then we have C to C sharp. So we've got pluck the C there, 5th fret of the G string, hammer on to the C sharp, the 6th fret, okay? Then we have an open D string. Now, I'll cover this in a second, but I think this was actually intended to be something else, but it actually comes across as a ghost note, pretty much, a kind of open string ghost note. Okay? But I'll come back to that in a second. So we have, then we're back to the C, 5th fret of the G string, then we're down to the A, 7th fret of the D string. Then 6th fret, 5th fret on the D string. So A flat, G. Okay, so C, C sharp, open D string, C, A flat, G. Then we're down to the E, 7th fret of the A string. And then we're up to the G, 5th fret of the D string, and we play this rhythm. Okay. Then we simply come up from the E, G, G sharp, so 7th fret A string, then 5th fret, 6th fret D string, and then we're finally at the A 7th fret of the D string. And then you can come down the chromatic scale in whatever way you want, but that's not a part of the solo, that's just that. Okay, but we're just looking at the solo section. So, all together. Okay. So that's the notes. So now I'm just going to break it down a little and give you a few tips on getting through it. So to begin with, we had those 4 notes, and you're going to want to start on your 2nd finger of the picking hand, okay? So the middle finger, okay? And it's all alternate picking there. Now in terms of the fingering on this hand, obviously we don't have anything to do for the open string, but I would use the 2nd finger, then the 1st finger on this hand, so. Okay? Okay, pretty straightforward. Then we get to these ascending groups of 3, which are the thing that everybody always has a problem with. So, when I very first tried playing this, I tried using alternate picking for everything. So I was kind of playing the first one starting on the 2nd finger, then I was playing the 2nd one with the 1st finger, and then 2nd finger, and then 1st finger, and it's really tough like that. So, the way to get through this is to use raking, and I'll show you how that works as we go at it. So, when we play the first group of 3, we have, start on the 2nd finger, then we play with the 1st finger for the next note, so it's just 2, 1, then rake down with that 1st finger onto the A string. For a lot of people, this will just, be second nature. You'll probably do it instinctively. But if you don't, then it's a really good way of incorporating raking into your playing. Just get used to that move. Okay? So it's 2, 1, rake. And I'm using 3rd finger, 1st finger, and then 3rd finger. So you can kind of get through this, a lot of it, with just the 1st and 3rd fingers. Then we shift up, do exactly the same thing on that G string. So again, 2, 1, rake. Now, in terms of the fingering on this hand, I actually play with the kind of underside of that 3rd finger when I get up to the top. So I'm not playing with the pad of the finger. I am on the first group, but then I just kind of bar across. So it's kind of like that part of the finger that I'm playing with. Just makes it a lot easier in terms of efficiency. Okay, same thing for the next one. Again, 2, 1, rake. And I'm using the 4th finger and 1st finger for the first 2 notes, and then coming down to the 3rd finger for the next one. Okay. Then again, 2, 1, rake for the next one, and I'm using the 3rd finger and 1st finger. So I'll just run through the whole thing so far. Okay, so that's it so far. Next, we come to this hammer-on and open string section, and I do have a little bit of an observation to make here. Now, I have no proof that this is correct, but it's just something that stood out to me. So, first of all, we just have that hammer-on, so I'm just picking the C and then hammering on, so it's just 1st finger to 2nd finger. Then we have that open D string, which kind of comes across as a ghost note, so we're plucking that with the 1st finger. Okay, and then we've got the C and the A, so again, 2nd finger, 1st finger. Now, I suspect that that was intended to be, okay, so instead of the open D string, the A at the 7th fret of the D string. That's the kind of line that would be more commonly played. It's very, very straightforward, kind of bluesy pentatonic line that you would get a lot, and the kind of thing that Geddy Lee plays a lot. But instead, we have this open D string just randomly out of nowhere, and it goes by so fast that it doesn't really, make that much difference if we have, or, it doesn't really make that much difference. So I suspect that he was going for that A there at the 7th fret, but maybe just either scuffed it or just in the heat of the moment it just came across as that open D string. Whether it was improvised or not, I'm not sure. If it was improvised especially, then it could have just been in the heat of the moment, it just came out like that. But the line that he's kind of going for would have that A in there. But there is that open D in there, okay? So then once we get up to the A flat, G, I'm just playing 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger. Then 3rd finger for the E. And then we play the G with the 1st finger for the rhythm. And then again, 3rd finger, 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger coming up. So all of that section is a lot easier than, than all the 3s coming up. Once you pass those groups of 3, it's fairly easy. So again, once you've nailed all of this, you've got it all under your fingers, just add a segment one at a time, then you can start to build up speed. So I would advise you to begin slowly just with the first 2 licks, okay? So we start with, just get that bit under your fingers, then add that 3. Just work that up. And really focus on the actual fingering that you're using. And that way you can focus on that little rake. And if you get any problems, just slow it down. Then add another. Just build it up. Okay, and then add another, and just work through it in that way, just adding group after group after group, and gradually, over time, if you build up each one of those sections up to speed, eventually you'll just have the whole thing nailed. Now, I've got one last tip to give you in terms of the finger picking and the tone, and that's pay attention to the hand placement, okay, the position of the hand. Now, Geddy Lee gets that real snap on the notes as he plays this solo, and the way to do that is to play further away from the bridge, okay, so somewhere in the middle, really, somewhere over the pickup. Now, if you play it over the pickup or nearer the neck, you'll get more of that clanky sound. If I play closer to the bridge, I don't get the clank. It's a lot more defined and kind of funky, but as you come down here, you get more of that grind and snap, okay? So, as you're playing the solo, you can hear that snap on there. If I play near the bridge, you can hear it's very defined, but it just doesn't have that bite. It just doesn't work. Come back down here, you can really, really get some snap into those notes as you come up. So that's the finger placement. Play somewhere over the pickup, the middle pickup. If you were using a Rickenbacker, obviously you'd be down near the neck here. If you were going to be playing on a Fender Jazz or anything with that kind of with the metal scratch plate over the middle, you'd want to be this side of it, okay? But if you've got nothing getting in the way, then just play dead center. If you're on a Precision, play over the pickup. If you're on a Jazz bass, play over the neck pickup, okay? So you get the idea. Just play somewhere away from that bridge. So like I said, just start out slowly, add section after section, and then just gradually build up speed. So now I'll just run through it a few times, playing it at different speeds, just so you've got something to kind of play along to, okay? So, first of all, very slowly. Okay. here. And okay, so that's a little bit of Geddy Lee for you. I'll probably be running through, a load more of his bass lines at some point in the future, but hopefully that's satisfied the needs of a few of you rush heads out there. If you like this lesson, remember that you can go on over to talkingbass.net, check out the lesson map there, where there are hundreds of other lessons on all types of topics, and they're all there systemized and categorized for ease of navigation. Okay? I'll see you next week.